What's going on, YouTube? Josh here checking in. We're in my backyard. It's January 11th, 2017. It's 75 degrees out in North Texas. So why not be outside? We're doing a Q&A. I basically put up on Twitter and Instagram a 2-hour window to ask some questions, and we're just gonna get started. By the way, if you're not already following me on there, it's just at The Strength Doc, so just check it out. That's the name, at The Strength Doc, real simple. You can ask me questions in the next one. So first question from Twitter. Any correlation between creatine supplementation and increase in blood pressure? The answer is no. There is not a correlation between having creatine and then your blood pressure going up. As far as supplements are concerned, compared to whey protein, creatine is really probably the second most researched supplement out there. So I'm actually going to post a link below in the description box with the examine.com creatine supplementation. It's extremely safe, and I'm not going to go into all of it, but you don't have to worry about your blood pressure going up on creatine. Next question. Let's see here. All right, the next question is, can wearing a belt too tight make it harder to brace correctly and thus provoke low back rounding? In short, yeah, I think that could probably happen. So you have to remember that with bracing, your goal is really to take in that breath of air, and especially when you're wearing a belt, breathe into your belly, you push out against your abs, and you're also pushing out against the belt. So if your belt is too tight, then what ends up happening is you can't take as much air, and air in your belly and kind of, taking that big breath in is what allows you to essentially, increase your intra-abdominal pressure. So if you're not able to increase your intra-abdominal pressure, you're not able to brace effectively, and then therefore, if the load is heavy enough, you could risk, form breakdown, which would include low back rounding. So, in short, the answer is yes. All right, next question. Is 1 gram of protein per pound the optimal ratio for macros, or should calories be the base and you go off of a ratio? The brief is yes. I think that you should basically use your protein as your base and then you go from there. The way that most people calculate macros, really quick and dirty, is you start off with goal calories. You figure out how many calories are going to come from your roughly 1 gram per pound of protein, and then you use the rest of those calories and you fill them up with carbs and fats. The reason why ratios don't really work very well is because potentially you could put yourself at either way below your protein needs, although more likely than not what would happen is, as you're, say, bulking, your protein would just be like really high, and there's not added benefit to having, say, 1.5 or 2 grams per pound of body weight. Whereas, having, say, additional carbs instead of protein could be beneficial as far as, performance is concerned. So, with protein, that's pretty much going to be consistent. Maybe when you're going into a deep cut or something, you might want to up it a little bit, but for the most part, protein's going to stay stable, and that's why that's going to be the base of your macros. On to the next question. We're going to go on to Instagram. Okay. This is a good one. Do you ever feel guilty stealing all the coolness from your family? Then they tagged my little brother Chase, can't even read, and you're over here cruising on sport bikes looking mad swole. So, my little bro, he can read. He does not cruise on sport bikes, so he's maybe not that cool. And he used to be not that swole, although he started working with me. I've sort of taken him under my wing as a client. He's decided, I'm gonna get swole, and he's getting there. So maybe, we'll have to revisit this question in a few weeks or maybe a few months at that. Next question. What is your average reps per chicks banged ratio? Chicks banged ratio. My reps to chicks banged ratio is pretty poor. I have done a lot of reps, and I'm in a committed relationship, so the denominator is 1. And as far as that question is concerned, I would say if your reps to chicks banged ratio is, approaching 1, well, either you are really small because you don't do any reps, or more likely you should probably go to like the clinic and get checked for venereal disease, because that's not right, man. Next question. All right, this one is a multi-part question, and you guys can feel free to just turn off whenever, but we'll go through all of it because this is the first Q&A, and why not? So, first question, would you ever consider vlogging your life in addition to your lifting vids? You know, myself, I'm not really into the whole vlogging thing. The other thing that you have to remember is my primary job, I'm a doctor. You know, I work in the hospital a lot of hours, and so my life is primarily outside of the hospital is lifting and just not a whole lot of stuff that's interesting, you know. And so since I spend most of my time not at home at the hospital working, there's not a chance I could vlog at work, and if I did, I would definitely lose my job. So I've toyed with the idea, but I just don't see it happening anytime soon. So yeah, not anytime soon. Sorry guys. Next question, what's your nutrition during residency like? You know, so for those of you guys who don't know, I'm a physician, and basically once you finish medical school, you go into residency, which is basically you work your butt off and you get paid not really anywhere close to what you're gonna make once you're finished. You're sort of still in training and you work a lot. So what's my nutrition like during residency? It's really variable depending on what rotation I'm on. You know, some rotations I've got more time and I can prep and stuff like that. Although, you know, my specialty is emergency medicine, so I spend most of my time in the emergency room. To be honest with you, when I first started residency, I started losing a bunch of weight because I was just so busy. I didn't really eat enough calories. And so essentially what I do to make up for that is I ended up just buying the biggest blender bottle that they make. I think it's like 40 something ounces. And so what I do is I basically make a massive smoothie and I bring that to work and I just drink that on the go because I don't really have time to stop and have a meal and stuff like that. So I'm able to get my nutrients, I'm able to get my micronutrients, I put in a bunch of, you know, greens and stuff like that, so I get my veggies, proteins, fats. The thing is probably like 1,500 or 2,000 calories, and that's helped me kind of maintain my size. So it's definitely something to consider if you're, you know, having some difficulty keeping muscle on and you're doing something busy. Next question, what's your programming like now? So the short of it is right now my programming is on pause. I've actually strained my neck really badly to the point where I can hardly lift, and I'm actually gonna have to probably get a membership at a commercial gym like full time to do some machine work. So it's pretty unfortunate, but we will have to address that question once I'm kind of feeling a little bit better and I can lift real weights again. Let's see. Next question. How do you survive financially during med school and residency? So, you know, med school, let's take that first. So med school, basically loans is the answer. Like almost everybody takes out loans in med school and you can get enough loans to cover your living expenses. I was a rare exception where I actually worked like a part-time job during med school as well, so I had a second source of income. I was a paramedic before med school, and so I was able to work basically during med school and, you know, make up for that, cover those loans. Sorry about that ambulance in the background if the microphone picked that up. And during residency, you know, you basically, the short of it is you pay off your loans very minimally during residency. I personally, where I go to residency, the cost of living isn't that bad, so I don't feel like I'm living in the poorhouse. I mean, I'm obviously not balling out, but finances actually aren't too bad right now. Next question is thoughts on Osterine and SARMs in general. So this could be a topic video in and of itself. Basically, we're talking about SARMs, which are selective androgen receptor modulators. They're kind of analogous to SERMs, which are the selective estrogen receptor modulators. They're used for, you know, treating breast cancer, and people use them for a bunch of other stuff. My thoughts on these are, you know, there's really just not a lot of research on these as far as long-term effects and stuff like that. You know, people post that they're having benefit from this kind of thing and maybe less side effects than anabolic steroids. I personally wouldn't mess with this stuff. A lot of the places where you can buy them advertise them as like research chemicals, and quite frankly, that's what they are. They're really only at the research level at this point, and I don't think it's worth it. So that's kind of my brief thoughts on that. How much free time do you have? Depends on the rotation I'm on in residency. Sometimes I actually have a fair bit of free time, but for the most part, I'm pretty busy, and you just have to be efficient to make that happen. Craziest case you've seen in the ER? I've seen a lot of crazy stuff. I'm gonna pass on this question. I'm gonna have to think about it a little bit more, just because I've just seen way too much crazy stuff. We'll address this in another video. How's your hip now? So for those of you who don't know, I tore my sartorius muscle back in med school. The question is, how's my hip doing now? So after a bunch of physical therapy and doing a lot of mobility work, and actually for me emphasizing the high bar squat and the front squat, just because I was able to go deeper and really work that range of motion, kind of work through the scar tissue and stuff like that, my hip is absolutely fine now. For me, a lot of the mobility stuff that I've done to kind of get to that point is just doing the movements that will force me to kind of push my mobility needs, and it's actually completely fine. I have no issues with that right now, thank goodness. Next question, have you enjoyed your medical career so far? Yeah, it's extremely fulfilling. It's hard work. I kind of knew what I was getting myself into because I was a paramedic for 6 years before becoming a doctor, but nonetheless, it's awesome. It's a real privilege to do, to go there, especially, work in the emergency room, and be there sometimes when people are on there having their worst day. It's an awesome job to have. Can be difficult at times, there's hours are hard, working holidays, stuff like that, but in the end, it's definitely worth it, and I've enjoyed it very much. I'm looking forward to a long career. Last question, where do you want to take your YouTube channel? That is a wonderful question that I don't have a really good answer for, because honestly, I never really had intentions of starting this YouTube channel in the first place. This channel started off years ago, back in the beginning of med school, when I was just, trying to chronicle my progress lifting, and I just sort of kind of evolved from there. At this point, I'm just going to continue to make informative content, continue to put out videos. I don't really see myself being, having 100,000 subscribers and, going to fit expos and stuff like that. I just don't have the time for that. Although I do have somebody, my little bro actually is helping me out, edit some videos and stuff like that. So I should be able to put out content a little bit more frequently, just because, in residency, I just haven't had a lot of time to do that, and the editing side of things can take a little bit of time. So I'm having some help with that, and I hope to put out more content more frequently, even though I'm in residency. Alright guys, so that's a video. I know it went a little bit long. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more Q&As, you can like this video. That'll show your support to the channel. If you have any questions or comments about the stuff that we touch on in this video, definitely post them in the comment section below. And if you're not already following me on other forms of social media, definitely check that out. That way you could ask some questions in the next Q&A. Alright guys, I'll catch y'all in the next video.